We've all been there, gravitating towards the one person in our life who seems to push our button. Is the one whose rough exterior somehow draws us in despite the overwhelming sense of dread their presence evokes. But what drives this masochistic attraction to people who seem designed to make our lives more complicated and painful? I've seen it myself in my own relationships, that eerie, unsettling dance with someone who just so happens to match the darker aspects of our own personality, as if we're unconsciously drawn to that familiar, if painful, resonance. In this video, we'll be exploring the unseen dance of fear and attraction that underlies these toxic relationships, and unravel the mysteries of how our deep-seated insecurities shape the people we're drawn to, and why we're often drawn to the very things that should repel us. Let's start by examining how our deep-seated insecurities actually create an invisible canvas on which we project our idealized partners, people who unwittingly validate our own sense of self-worth. We have this peculiar habit of gravitating towards individuals who possess qualities that our early caregivers lacked or were incapable of giving us, often unconsciously yearning for a connection that can never truly satisfy our primal need for love and acceptance, because it's rooted in fantasy rather than real human connections. It's a paradox where our ego's greatest pursuit of validation is simultaneously its own worst enemy, creating an emotional paradox that makes us repeatedly drawn to relationships that, on the surface, seem to mirror our deepest fears and anxieties. In this unseen dance of fear and attraction, we unconsciously seek to control and manage the anxiety that comes with intimacy, usually by attempting to mold our partners into projections of our idealized versions, an effort we secretly know will always fall short, leaving us to repress the inevitable disappointment. At its core, our attraction to discomfort stems from a twisted desire to experience a semblance of self-empowerment within a relationship, where we secretly crave the validation and reassurance that our insecurities so desperately crave, an ongoing cycle of seeking comfort and self-doubt that paradoxically becomes the very driving force behind our search for connection. Ultimately, it's this very self-deceit that keeps us trapped within a cycle of self-sabotaging behaviors and a perpetual longing for a relationship that, in reality, we're too scared to truly engage with on a deep and meaningful level, leaving us stuck in a dance of fear and attraction from which we struggle to break free. Let's dive beneath the surface and explore a very uncomfortable truth. People often fall for those who trigger their deepest insecurities because deep down, they are searching for validation, a reminder that their fears are justified, and a confirmation that their worst expectations are true. We've all heard the phrase opposites attract, but what it really means is that people are drawn to those who push their button, who challenge them to confront their inner demons, and who offer a distorted reflection of themselves, a warped version of reality that they desperately try to make sense of. When we choose someone who makes us feel small, powerless, or unworthy, it's not because we're attracted to their flaws, but because we're attracted to the sense of control they offer us, the illusion that we can either save them from their own demons or fix them to fit our own needs. The ego loves to deceive us, convincing us that we're picking partners based on love, trust, and mutual respect, when in reality, we're often choosing them because they make us feel seen, heard, and validated in ways our own self-worth doesn't. Fear and attraction are inextricably linked, and our pursuit of the uncomfortable is often driven by a primal desire to prove our worth to ourselves and others, to show the world that we're not as wounded, not as broken, and not as flawed as we fear we are. Ultimately, our relationship choices are a reflection of our own unresolved issues, our deepest insecurities, and our most pressing fears, the unanswerable questions that we're desperate to fill, the self-doubts that we're desperate to silence, and the vulnerabilities that we're desperate to hide. When we're drawn to conflict, it's not about the conflict itself, but about the sense of validation it provides, a twisted form of reassurance that we still exist within the minds of others. Deep down, people seek control in relationships because it's the only way they can temporarily quiet the chaos that lies within, but in their pursuit of dominance, they inadvertently amplify the very fear they're trying to suppress. Insecurities manifest as a constant craving for the one thing that can momentarily mask our own vulnerability: attention, affirmation, validation, and we often mistake it for a sign of true connection. The most destructive relationships are those in which one or both parties use conflict to validate their own emotional narratives, a toxic back and forth of justification and recrimination that keeps the other person perpetually bound to their own psychological prison. Ultimately, the magnetism of the uncomfortable stems from our deep-seated desire to confront and resolve the unresolved traumas of our past. But in our misguided attempts to relive and redeem these experiences, we frequently recreate them in relationships, often with people who are no more equipped to help us than we are to confront the pain within. When we gravitate towards conflict and instability, it's a desperate cry for help from the part of us that's been conditioned to believe we're only worthy when we're suffering, or worse, when we're causing others to suffer. And it's in this painful dynamic that we're most likely to discover the depths of our own self-deception. When we allow our insecurities to dictate our actions in relationships, we often unconsciously manipulate those around us in an attempt to find validation, only to be met with a sense of emptiness that reinforces our deepest fears. It's a clever trick of the ego to present ourselves as strong and independent while secretly craving the very thing that makes us feel weak, a sign of vulnerability, of being needed. As we navigate the complexities of relationships, we must be mindful of the subtle dance of power and vulnerability that plays out in our interactions, for it is there that we often find the most insidious forms of emotional manipulation. We are drawn to the uncomfortable, the unpredictable, and the tumultuous because it serves as a proxy for the sense of excitement and adrenaline that comes with a genuine connection, a connection that is authentic, yet fleeting. In an effort to mitigate the anxiety and pain that inevitably come with true intimacy, we may find ourselves drawn to individuals who, on the surface, appear capable of providing us with the validation and security we so desperately crave, but who in reality are only mirroring our own insecurities back at us. Ultimately, it is our deepest insecurities that serve as the gravitational pull that draws us into these dynamic cycles of emotional manipulation, where we find ourselves perpetually seeking a reflection of our own worth, rather than truly seeing and being seen for who we are. As we dance with our insecurities, we unconsciously weave a tapestry of fear and attraction that draws people to the very things that make us uncomfortable. The moment we begin to genuinely confront the darkness within ourselves, the people who were once drawn to our masks, our obsessions, and our addictions are no longer invited to the party. Our addiction to validation is rooted in a deep-seated craving for control, and it's this hunger that often drives us to cling to relationships and situations that slowly suffocate us. The people who are most drawn to the uncomfortable are not the ones who are broken, but the ones who are desperately seeking a reflection of themselves in someone else's darkness. When we're forced to confront the parts of ourselves that we've been trying to hide, it's not the darkness that repels us, but the reality that we've been living a lie, and it's this brutal honesty that sets us free. We're not addicted to the substances, the behaviors, or the relationships themselves. We're addicted to the fleeting sense of relief, the temporary fix, the desperate attempt to quiet the screams of our own inadequacy. As we conclude, remember that our unseen dance of fear and attraction plays a profound role in shaping not just our relationships, but our very reality. I invite you to reflect on this concept and share your observations in the comments below, for in the sharing of our inner struggles, we find common ground and true connection. If this video resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and join me on this journey of exploring the intricate complexities of the human experience.